Now we are going to be looking at linear trends. This is fairly simple. We just need to run a regression with period or time on the x-axis and the unit sales on the y-axis. We're trying to predict unit sales, and we need some estimate for what alpha is and beta is. Alpha is the intercept, beta is the slope, and t is the time period. So what I'm going to do here first is use all the data I have to create my formula to estimate alpha and to estimate beta. And once I'm done, I'm going to pretend as if this is not the data that I used in my estimation. So I'm going to use it and build a forecast and see how well it works. Make sense? So let's start. First, I'm going to do a plot of the data. Select the 2 data points, insert, recommended charts. I'm going straight for scatter plot because that's what I want, a time series kind of plot. There we go. So you can see that if there is a relationship anywhere in this data set, it is not a linear relationship. There is no linear relationship. There is at least a polynomial in here. Could be more, but there is at least one polynomial. But we're going to treat it as if it's a full-on linear trend. Okay, so suspend belief, we're going to put a straight line in there. Let me right click and add a trend line. Can you see this line? I wonder if I can make it larger than it is. It doesn't look like I can. But can you see that barely there trend line? So it is upward sloping, but it's not quite right. So if I was doing this, I'm not sure I would run a linear trend for this kind of data. I'm just saying, because it looks like it has cycles in, or at least seasonality, rather than data that I can just use as is. Anyway, delete. Now let's create the formula. I'm going to use Excel's regression function, and that is in what is called the data analysis tool pack. Here, if I had it installed, it will show up somewhere here. Doesn't look like I have it installed, so I'm going to have to add it in the options setting. Oh, this is a new one, feedback and options. Let's go with options. And now I want to add and put in an add-in. Down here, manage Excel add-in. I'm going to click go. And then, yeah, data analysis toolpack. I want one of those. Thank you very much. Okay. So now under the data tab, data analysis show up. And in here is a bunch of tools, numerous wizards that can help you simplify what you're doing. Now, it even has a moving average one. I've done moving average before, and I didn't use the wizard because it made more sense for me to do it manually. But anyway, there's one here you can try aloud. So regression is what we want. I'm going to double click on regression and says, what are my Y input? My Y input is unit sales because that is what I'm trying to predict. Now, it's always good habit to include the header when you are selecting your data. Make sure your data has labels and include it here. You'll see what that means in a minute. It just means when the regression results show up, it comes in with the labels that makes it easy for you to translate what you're seeing. So the x-axis is the period or time. Don't forget, period is time, right? It's just the number. Label, my data has labels because the first row is a label. It says, where do you want to put the data? It defaults to a new sheet, but I want to output the data right on the same sheet. It makes it easier to use the values in calculations. I'm going to click in here. Do I want residuals, standardized plot? I don't need any of these. This is just all I need for right now. Do okay. And these are the regression results. So interpretation beyond the scope of what we're doing, okay? Beyond the scope of what I'm doing. I'm teaching you the how to do and that's it. So down here is the intercept, the alpha. I'm just going to replace this and call it alpha. You could just, I could type alpha, right? So I'm going to do alpha and insert symbol. I'm going to insert my alpha symbol and close that. Done. And for period, I'm going to call that T. Now, I did put this equation at the top to kind of help you see what's going on. So I'm going to delete the equation, move my regression results up. There's a bunch of this that, all of this is useful information, but I don't really need any of them for what I'm trying to do right now. So I'm going to delete everything and move my regression results up so that I can use it in my analysis. I don't know if this is more stressful than just straight out calculating the intercept, but the additional information that comes with the regression is needed to help me estimate the model. I'm not doing it right now, that's why I'm deleting things. So now I've got my alpha and my period. I can then use this to build a forecast. I literally only need this for right now. I'm not doing any fit for purpose test, okay? So now I can build my forecast using that formula. You're going to have to pretend as if you remember, okay? So the formula is alpha plus, I always like to put a bracket even though it's not necessary, beta times time, period 1. Now, I'm going to copy these formulas all the way down. The only relative address I have in here is 1. The rest are absolute address. So I'm going to click in I3. I'm going to do F4, makes that address permanent. I'm going to click in C2. Sorry, I4, press F4 or function 4. It puts a $$ sign in front of my data and it makes the address permanent. So anytime I'm referring to alpha, it's in cell I3, and time and the slope. Period here is the slope of time. Sorry, we're going to call this slope. And it is not T, but beta. Let's represent that with B. Okay, that's better because these are my T's. So now I've got the first formula. This is my forecast. I can copy that formula down. And as you can see, if I double click on it, these are permanent address. This permanently refers to the location of alpha. This permanently refers to the location of beta, and time changes. So in period 9, time changes. Now what is beautiful about this model and also painful about this model is that we've built a linear model. So as time goes on, the forecast gets larger and larger and larger. And you can see from the actual data that we used to build this model that that's not what's actually taking place. But you know what? I'm showing you how, and that this is how. Double click. Just know that all of the methods are not appropriate to all of the data all of the time. Okay, click in here and I'm going to remove all of the zeros, all of the decimal places. Ugh. Okay. There we go. Awesome. Linear trends are only appropriate if the relationship between time and your data is approximately linear. That's all I'm saying. Okay. Awesome. We've got our forecast. There's going to be a lot of errors in here, but we'll leave that to when we are measuring accuracy. That's it. We are done. The alternative, instead of having to do all of the slope work, if you didn't need any of the extra data, we could have said intercept. Excel has an intercept function and slope. Excel has a slope function, and we would say equals intercept. Click in here. it's going to ask you for all the values on the y-axis. This time you don't need the labels. So unit sales are on the y-axis, comma, and time is on the x-axis. Press enter, and we have exactly the same intercept. Same with slope. So instead of running the regression, if I knew that the relationship was linear, I could have just used Excel's slope function. Running the regression equation comes with additional information that helps me assess whether the model is fit for purpose. Again, we need all of the y's, comma, and oops, all of the x's. Close the bracket, press enter, and we are good. So exactly the same value. You probably could have done it with less hassle.